Well, welcome. This is Jamie. Welcome back to another episode of what I'm calling my experimental garden. Today I'm going to be doing something that might not even consider to be part of a garden, but we are doing more than just coming out into our yard, throwing a bunch of stuff down on the ground, building beds, planting seeds, and just hoping for the best. There's a there's a, a science behind urban gardening, and that science is in the development of ecosystems. So most of the ecosystems that are built in these garden beds you can't see because they're microscopic, or they're micro ecosystems, and part of that, um, especially since we're doing trying to do organic gardening here, is developing a habitat for pest control. So one of the concerns that I have about using the wood chips, and again, this is all experimental, this is new, may not be a problem, I don't know. But one of my concerns is that it's going to attract slugs. Now, slugs are not good in a garden. So I'm hoping that I can develop a system that will help um, maintain, or at best eradicate the slugs out of my garden. And for that, I need some help. I don't like slugs. They're slimy, they're nasty, and I mean, you can call them snails on the half shell, whatever you want to do, I don't care, but I just don't like them. I think they're disgusting. Frogs, however, love them. So today, I'm down in the very bottom corner of my little backyard garden, and I'm right next to the property line, and I'm gonna dig a little frog pond. Now I love having water features in my garden. Since we moved a year and a half ago, I haven't had one, but today we're going to start changing that. This may be a 2-day project. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it done today. The weather's a little iffy. It's pretty cool outside. We have a chance of scattered showers all day. So what I've done is I've picked a spot first. Now this is kind of out of the way, so it's not going to bother me as far as working in my garden. It's downhill from the rest of the garden, so it's going to get a little runoff, which will help keep it full, and I won't have to worry about dragging the hose out across the garden and refilling it if it gets a little low. It's in the shade, so that's going to help with my water clarity. Sunshine is what causes the algae and things like that to take over your little backyard ponds, bird baths, those kinds of things. So hopefully, with it being in this nice shaded spot, this shaded corner in the yard, I won't have to worry about that as much. And it's close to my garden beds, so I think this is going to be pretty much the ideal spot to put this little frog pond. I have I've kind of checked on the space that I have, and it's not a whole lot, but I think it's going to be enough. And so I've done a little online shopping. I'll go pick it up in just a few minutes, but I found a liner that I'm going to use for this, and it's a 10 by 13 foot liner, and I think that's going to be plenty big. Here in Kentucky, I need to take this thing about 2 feet deep because we do get some hard freezes during the winter. They don't always last very long, but we do get some hard ones, and so I want this pond to be at least 2 feet deep. That way it won't freeze all the way through, and if I decide to put some goldfish or something like that in it, then I don't have to worry about them not surviving the winter. So my goal, or my plan, is to dig the spot out. Hopefully I don't dig anything up. This house is over 50 years old, so there's no telling what's buried out here in this yard. It's kind of a morbid thought, but fingers crossed. So I'm gonna dig my pond. I'm gonna lay it out first, dig my pond, get the dirt worked around the edge of it, and then what I'm gonna do, and again, this is part of the experimental nature of this, I want something that's gonna pad my liner so that it won't be laying directly on the ground. Rocks, tree roots, those kinds of things that come in contact with it, and possibly puncture my liner. So I still have some wood chips around front. Once I get the hole dug, get my pond dug out like I want it, get the dirt work smoothed out like I want, I'm gonna lay a couple of inch layer of these wood chips in the bottom of it so that it'll pad my liner. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm not a pond expert. I've dug 2 or 3 of these before. They seem to work okay. So we're gonna dig another one and see how it goes. So I'll pop in every now and then and kind of give you a little update and let you see the progress. And again, it may take a couple of days, but we're just gonna see. So happy digging. Okay, so I've been out here about an hour now. I don't know if you can see it real well or not, but I've got the rough shape kind of laid out. I've got my first layer of dirt taken out. It's going to be deeper on the far end than will on this end. I want to kind of slope the edges so that any critters that get in there can get back out. I don't have to worry about things getting in and drowning. I've worked the edge right around the corner of my bed so that there's good access for the frogs to the slugs if slugs become a problem, which hopefully they don't. So now what I've got to do is I've got to go ahead and dig it down to the depth I want. I've got my level out here, an 8-foot straight edge, so I can get an idea, make sure it's level all the way around. And I'm going to dig a spot just a little deeper, either in the middle or right on the far side, just so I have a little deeper water. And then one thing I'm going to have to work out is it didn't work out like I hoped it would, where I was going to be able to use the natural runoff from my yard without doing a whole lot of extra digging. So I'm going to have to do something to do a little backfill up on this side and turn the water away so I don't wind up with 2 ponds, because I don't want the top side of this pond holding water in my yard. I need to make sure it runs on off. So I'm using a little trick to keep from having to dig quite as much. I'm building up the edges as I go down, so that as I'm going down and bringing the dirt up, the edges are also coming up, which is it's not really doubling my work, but it's or not doubling my, you know what I'm talking about. It's it's allowing me to get more depth with less digging. I'm tired. So, you know, like I've said before, I'm no professional. You're not gonna get a real polished video. You just got a guy with an iPhone and a vision out here, and so this is what we're doing. But it's actually digging easier than I thought it was going to, because it's good and soft, and the dirt is just unbelievably rich. I don't know if you can see how black that dirt is. I almost wish I could take the dirt out and spread it around in the garden, because it is that rich looking. But there's no telling how many years of leaves composted on top of this soil right here in this corner have taken place, and so it's beautiful dirt. I really hate to cover it up with a liner. But another hour or so of digging, and then I should have the hole kind of roughed out. Then I'll go get the liner and we'll start putting it together. So stick around. Okay, about an hour or so later, I think I'm done digging. I don't know how well you can see it. I'm gonna be using a 10-foot by 13-foot liner. That'll give me a couple of feet to go up the sides and about a foot to lap over the top. And earlier I'd said that I wasn't sure what I was going to find as I started digging in this corner. Honestly, I was afraid I was going to find pet burials or something like that. You just never know. And I certainly wouldn't want to disturb something like that. But as I got down to the bottom of the hole on the back side, I hit some really black dirt. I mean black dirt. And I had assumed that the house was put on a sewer system when it was built in 1968. I'm now starting to wonder if that's the case. So I stopped digging. I'm not quite as deep as I want to be, but I'm afraid I may have dug into an old septic system. And so I'm just going to stop. And I say that because when I planted my tomatoes, I found a row of concrete tiles, but they didn't seem like they went anywhere. And I had dug down to the end of them and found where they stopped. And so I just thought maybe it was for gutters or something like that. But now I'm starting to wonder if maybe it wasn't the original septic system before the city put in sewers on this annex. I just don't know. But I'm 20, 21, 22 inches deep, so I still think that's going to be plenty enough. I don't see it freezing that deep here in Kentucky. You know, I've seen ice 6 inches thick, things like that before, but I think that with it this deep, whatever I put in, it will be able to survive the winter. So now I'm going to go get a couple of wheelbarrows full of wood chips and lay those down, rake them out. I'll go grab the liner and get ready to put it in. And so hopefully by this afternoon we'll be able to start running some water in this thing. And then we just wait for our frog friends to move right in. So I'll be back in a little bit. Thanks. Well, welcome back. I've made my run and I picked up the pond liner. When I got to Lowe's though, the 10 by 13 that I planned on using said that it was for a 6 foot by 9 foot pond that's 1.5 feet deep. Mine's just a little bit bigger than that. I think I might still have been able to make it work, but I went ahead and got the bigger liner just in case. So I got a 13 by 20, and it just so happens that I don't need all of it. So once I get it trimmed off, I may have enough liner left over for another smaller pond somewhere else in the yard. That doesn't hurt my feelings any. I really missed having a water feature. So I've got it in place. I've got it stretched out. I've lined the hole with a mat of straw. I probably should have used sand, but I'm trying to use what I've got on hand. You know, I'm doing this thing on a budget, and we're kind of making this up as we go. So this is a puncture resistant liner. It's like 14.5 mil. It's pretty thick. And so I've got the 13 by 20 liner. I spread it out over the hole, stretched it out. Now I'm running water into it, and so I'm gonna let it fill up before I trim the liner, because I want to make sure it's pressed down like it needs to be, and then I can trim the liner and get it landscaped around it. That's not going to happen today though. It's starting to rain, and today's my oldest daughter's birthday, so I'm going to go in and start cooking birthday dinner here in a little bit. But you can do this. You know, you can see that I've spent a couple of hours just with a shovel, and got the hole dug out and got my liner put in now and running water into it, and we'll get it landscaped, and it's going to be beautiful. So this is another ugly corner of the yard that's now getting a little bit of a facelift. Little by little, I'm making this place look like I want it to look. Now, this is going to do a couple of things. I told you in the first video that this is a frog pond. You know, it's going to be a method of pest control, I hope. I haven't really seen a whole lot of frogs in the backyard, but hopefully this is going to draw them in, and they'll help keep whatever slugs out of the garden that may show up. Birds are going to use it. Squirrels are going to use it. We have 6 or 7 resident squirrels, and I fed them all winter, and so now they've got someplace they can go get a drink of water. So it's going to be its own little ecosystem, and I'm all about ecosystems because we don't realize how intricately tied together these life systems really are. And so this is another aspect of what I'm doing in the backyard. Now, this is city water, so I can't just go get some fish and drop it right in there, because this water's chlorinated, and chlorine is there for a reason. It's to kill the bugs and all that kind of stuff that may be in the water, bacteria, stuff that might harm us. The good thing about it is that as the sunlight hits it over a few days, the chlorine is going to start breaking down. So this is not going to look like swimming pool water, and I'm fine with that. I don't intend for it to look like that. I don't want it to smell stagnant or anything, but I know that it's going to turn brown, and as long as it stays fairly clear, I'm okay with it. And as we start getting a few leaves fall into it, I'm just going to leave them, because that's going to create an organic layer on the bottom of the pond that will also attract dragonflies and things like that lay their eggs on top of the water, and then the larvae spend most of their life cycle on the bottom under the detritus and all those kinds of things. And aquatic entomology in my degree work in college was one of the hardest classes I took, but it was also one of the most fascinating. And so I'm hoping that I can attract some aquatic insects and things like that. Mosquitoes, I'm not really worried about mosquitoes. I will drop some goldfish in it or something, and maybe some top minnows, and they'll take care of the mosquito population for me, so I'm not worried about that at all. And then we've got another place in the yard that we can landscape, and so it's just going to be a welcome addition to this corner of the yard. I'm so tired of looking at this back corner. It's just hideous. So now we can start making it really look like something. The only thing that didn't work out like I had hoped to get the size and the shape that I wanted, I have cut off access around the backside of my garden. So I can't just walk around the backside anymore without walking over the edge of the pond that I built. So this fall I may rework the end of this bed a little bit so I can access this back corner without having to walk all the way around. But it's just little things. You know, this is experimental gardener. We really are making this stuff up as we go. But it excites me. And like I said the other day, there's nothing like the hope in a new beginning. And so this is what this is for me. So if you want to dig a pond, shoot me a text, or not a text, you don't have my phone number, but you can certainly put it in the comments, or look me up on Facebook, Jamie Lee, and you can shoot me a Facebook message. And again, I'm no professional. There are lots of guys that do this stuff for a living that could have done this way better than I have. But you know, just like a lot of folks that may be wanting to do things like this, I don't need to be hiring a professional. I really don't. And so we'll see how it goes. Worst case, I pump it out, patch a hole in the liner, put it back together. No harm, no foul, except for a couple hours of my time. So I'll show it to you again when we get it done, we get it landscaped, and until then, happy gardening. Well, welcome back. It's a day later. I didn't get to finish up out here yesterday afternoon, so today the sun's shining. It's almost 70 degrees. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I stopped by the store and I've picked up a few landscaping plants. I don't know if you can see the pond right now because it's already in the shade for the day. But I got it wood chipped yesterday afternoon, and I got the liner pulled out tight and trimmed, covered the edge of the liner with wood chips. I'm probably going to go back and actually bury the edge of the liner under the wood chips into the dirt. I'm not worried about it pulling out or anything like that. It just gives it a little more finished look. So I've picked up a few plants. Now this is not going to be all the landscaping that we do around it, but this will be a start. So what I've had to do though is, you can tell, I mean, it's not even 1 o'clock in the afternoon yet, and this is already in the shade, and so it's going to be in the shade the rest of the day. It gets early morning sun as the sun comes up because it's not in the shadow of the house or anything, but by noon probably this is already in the shade, so it gets 4 hours maybe of sunlight every day. So I had to look for plants that were going to not only grow in the partial shade, partial sun, but actually thrive. And so I've gone around and I've shopped for some perennials because I don't like spending my money on annuals. Annuals are beautiful, but you have to replant them year after year. And so I prefer to spend my money on perennials that flower and those kinds of things. And so what I've done, since this is basically a shade garden, is I have found plants that grow in partial shade. And since they're not usually as flowery as some of the annuals that grow in full sun, I have found some with different shades of green in the foliage, and the leaves. And then I have found some that have some small flowers on them. And so I'm going to clump them around since I wasn't able to get all of the plants that I want right now at this first time. So I'm going to clump them. I've got some rocks I'm going to place around in different places. But let me show you what I found. This little one is called Scotch moss. And if you could feel this, it is just super soft. It's a beautiful light green, and it's a ground cover, so it's not going to get very tall, and up to 12 inch or 1 inch high and 8 to 12 inches wide. No, 1 foot high. I don't have my reading glasses on. So it's going to be a little clump bush, and it's just a beautiful green foliage. And then I have found one that is called Palace Purple Coral Bells. It also grows in the shade, but it's a purple foliage. And so I think that will contrast beautifully with some of the greens that I've gotten. And again, this one is a little bigger. It gets up to 2 feet tall and about 2 feet around. So you have to keep that in mind when you plant them. So I've got a couple of those. This is just a variegated vinca. Vinca is ones you gotta be kind of careful with. I like this one because of the variegation on it. It's another beautiful, almost a lime green color, and the white is just gonna pop in the shade. But Vinca, if you're not careful, this stuff will take over. And so it'll have, I only got 2 of these, so it's gonna have to be watched, and it may have to be trimmed back every couple of years or something like that. I do not want this stuff getting out in my yard. Even though I can mow it or whatever, I need to be able to contain this. So there's the Vinca. Now look at these beautiful little purple flowers. And this one is called Chocolate Chip Ayuga. I've never seen this plant before, so this is new to me. And I'm not a plant guy. I'm a tree guy. Biology was my thing. My little brother got his degree in landscape design, and I've wished 100 times I had done that instead of biology and chemistry and theology. So this Chocolate Chip Ayuga will, let's see, how big is this supposed to get? 24 inches wide and up to 12 inches high. So it's going to be another clumper. So I've got a couple of these, and I'm going to plant these around together in clumps so I can concentrate the visual effect that I've got. And then I bought some bulrush. What kind of pond does not have bulrushes growing around it? Now this is a 6-pack. They're small plants, but they were less than $2 a piece. So I've got 6 of the smaller ones, and I went ahead and bought one bigger one. So if you're landscaping on a budget like I am, and again, I'm not professional. I'm just a guy that studied this enough to know I'm pretty dangerous with this kind of stuff, and I know just enough to mess it up. But I do know that if you're trying to landscape on a budget, buy the smaller plants. Your money will go a whole lot farther. But then buy 1 or 2 that are a little bigger so that you can go ahead and start seeing some results a little sooner. So I've got the bigger bulrush and the 6 smaller ones. And then this one. This is a big blue liriope. And it's got little purple flowers on it. Some people call this monkey grass, I think. It looks like monkey grass. I guess that's what it is. A little taller than the monkey grass I've had before. But it's also for part sun, partial shade. So, if this is what I think it is, after a year or 2, I can dig this up and divide it. And then this one plant, this one $7 plant, over a couple of 3 or 4 years will give me all of this that I need. So that's what I bought for this to get me started. Like I said, I've got a few rocks that I'm gonna place around different places. I want to find some flagstone. I don't know that I'm gonna do that just yet. We're gonna just see how this looks when I get it done. And I did find this morning that fishing worms can't really swim. How did I get 4 fishing worms in this thing overnight? I don't know where they came from, just little red earthworms. But they're still in there, and they're just kind of flopping around, and I need to try to get them out. I don't like to see little animals suffering like that, even though they're just worms. They're worms that could be doing some work in my garden for me. So I'm gonna try to get them out before the day's over. Okay, so I've got work to do. I'll check back in a little bit and show you what it looks like. So until then, happy digging, happy gardening. All right, hey again. This is the last one about the frog pond. For now, it's done. I've got some landscaping in. I've got my rushes, the big one on the back side. I've got a couple little clumps because you're supposed to plant them in 3 or 4s together. So I've got a couple of clumps of the rushes. I've got the others kind of scattered around in clumps. I don't know if you can see any of them now. Here's the liriope, the monkey grass. Got some others over on the back side. We dug up a few of these limestone rocks out of the front yard this weekend, so I brought them around, got them strategically placed here just to add a little contrast. I'm wanting to do some flagstone and stuff like that, but if I don't get it done now, I'll do it later, so that's just fine. But this has been a fun little project. I've been wanting to do it for the 1.5 years that we've been here now, and it has really made a difference in this corner of the yard. Now, this is something that you can do again, but one thing that I would caution, before you start digging anywhere in your yard, call 811. I had done that last week. I had a rough idea of where all my utilities were anyhow, but every time you dig, you're supposed to call, and they'll come out and locate it. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. You just have to give them up to 48 hours to do it, 2 business days. All of our electrical, everything like that, phone is overhead, so I didn't have to worry about that. I knew where my water line was from the street. I have a pretty good idea where my sewer's at. They wouldn't mark that anyhow. The one thing I wasn't sure about was the gas line. I thought it came around the corner of the house and went to the street. The gas company thought it went around the corner of the house and went to the street. So when I decided I was going to do this and then go ahead and build my fence and everything, I thought I was in the clear back here, and I am. I mean, I'm fine. But the new fence that I'm going to build off of the corner of the house and around this side of the property was going to cross that gas line, and so I wanted to make sure that I knew exactly where it was, because my plan was to straddle the gas line with my gate, so there was no chance that I would be setting posts anywhere near the gas line. As it turns out, they had to disconnect my gas meter. They had to run a tracer wire, fish a tracer wire through my gas line out into the yard so that they could find it, because when this house was built, there were no tracers buried with the gas lines. It does not go around the side of my house like I thought and like the gas company thought. It goes around my backyard, loops all the way around almost to the back of the property, around through the other side and towards the street. Now, the first time the gas company had come out, I've already built the fence on the other end of the property, and the first time the gas company came out, they said, now when you get ready to build this section, call us, we'll come back, we'll locate this, we'll tell you exactly how deep it is, and then you can build your fence. They had no idea that it did not come and go the direction that we thought it did. So even though I followed the procedures and had my lines located, it's just by the grace of God that I didn't hit the gas line on the other end of the house, because I've already built that fence, and I had already called 811. I'd done all the things I was supposed to do. It just didn't go where any of us thought it did. So follow the rules. Call 811. Have them come out and locate your things. Then you don't have to worry about it. So now I know where it's at for the next time. But back to the frog pond. You can see now it's, I don't know, it's 3:30, something like that in the afternoon. We've got what we call dappled sunlight hitting this thing right now. It's actually getting more sun than I thought it would. So the plants that I've picked out, I think are going to be perfect for this, because they all grow in shade or partial sun. So I think it's going to be great. I can't wait to start seeing some wildlife use it. It may take a week or two for that to happen, and that's okay. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do a pump or anything. I'll have to do a solar pump or bury a electrical line out here, and I don't know if I'm going to fool with that yet or not. But this has been a really fun little project. Every backyard needs some kind of little water feature, and this is something that you can do. You can do this. Everything that I've done here, from laying it out to digging it to getting the liner and the plants and all that kind of stuff, you can do too, and it will just be a beautiful little addition to your backyard. So I'm not sure what I'll be working on next. Everything's in the ground, and we're just waiting for the seeds to germinate and the plants to sprout. We'll be pulling weeds and things like that for the next few weeks, but until we can get together, my name's Jamie, and thanks for hanging out in my experimental garden. Take care.